Gegege no Kitaro 2 has a really bad reputation in Japan. I've seen lists that call it out as one of the worst RPGs on the system. The thing is, it's definitely a bad game, but it's not bad in a way that stands out from the giant pile of mediocre RPGs we're going to see. It's just a mediocre game that should be forgotten, not called out as one of the worst of all time. Gegege no Kitaro is a popular comic and cartoon series from the 1960s that was having a revival in the 80s in Japan. It's about an undead boy who's a good yokai and uses his abilities to fight bad yokai. In the title, Gegege is onomatopoeia for a kind of sinister chuckle, Kitaro's trademark. This game has a subtitle, Yokai Gundam no Chosen, or Challenge of the Yokai Corps. That ties it back into one of the more popular storylines from the comic, though I personally didn't see any connection between the two. The story of the game is that while Kitaro was off training in another country, a nine-tailed fox escaped from where it was trapped and created a new yokai corps that took over Japan. Of course, it's up to Kitaro to defeat all of them. Gegege no Kitaro 1 on the Famicom was an action game that was released in the US as Ninja Kid. So naturally, the sequel is a Dragon Quest knockoff. The world map is actually a map of Japan, though there aren't any cities or towns on it. Kitaro lands somewhere near Chiba, and then heads a little bit inland to his house. As you explore, you'll come across these regions where a force field is. You can't cross from a regular area into the ice train causing force field, though you can take underground tunnels to locations inside the force field. The only way to stop the maddening flickering effect is to defeat a boss within it. Now I have just given you more direction than anything else in Gegege no Kitaro 2. There are a handful of NPCs you can encounter by walking up to the right building, but you won't get a whole lot out of them. You can also talk to enemies in combat, but their conversations there don't make any sense. There are often random characters or weird snippets of other conversation. What it comes down to is that there's effectively no direction given to you in Gegege no Kitaro 2, and it's not like there are towns you can visit in order to get hints. Other things this game lacks include money and equipment. Enemies will sometimes drop things that you can use to refill your health or spiritual power, but that's it for inventory. The combat system is even simpler than most Dragon Quest clones. You can choose to attack, talk, or run away. When you choose to attack, you've got a bar that will include all of your available powers. Those increase as you level up. The top bar is your health, and the bottom bar is your spiritual power. Each segment of the bars represents 8 points. Once you've chosen your attack, you just go at each other in some very slow animations, and then repeat. Enemies are worth 1 experience point each. Okay, according to a strategy guide I found, there are some enemies later in the game that are worth 2 or possibly even 3 experience points, but virtually all of the things that you fight are worth 1 experience point. They'll get tougher, but they'll still just be worth 1 point. And that makes engaging with the combat effectively meaningless. The maximum level in Gegege no Kitaro 2 is 10, and you have to earn 999 experience points for that. But the way that the enemy scaling works, there's no reason to not just hang out in the starting area and kill 999 of the sickle weasels. The reward is the same, and it's a lot faster to kill those guys than it is to kill later enemies. Another issue with the combat is that the random number generator for this game doesn't seem to be very good. The amount of time I played isn't really great for a statistical analysis, but there seem to be long stretches where Kitaro and the enemy couldn't hit each other. It feels very streaky. It could always have been my imagination, and the only way that I would know for sure would be playing a lot more of Gegege no Kitaro 2, and I'm not going to do that. The only place that I found for healing was Kitaro's house. You can go in there, settle down for a nap to recover health and energy, or watch the TV, which will give you a password. Before you really go anywhere, you're going to just have to hang around the house and fight enemies over and over again. you'll have to get to level 3 before you have a chance to survive the first boss. And level 3 requires 30 experience points. So you just walk back and forth in the same forest, grinding up XP 1 point at a time. There are encounters where there are multiple enemies, but you still only fight them one at a time. Once you reach level 3, you can go up and take this long, circuitous path until you get to a castle. That castle's the first dungeon, and inside it, don't fight anything. The monsters there are way tougher than the ones outside, and it'll severely drain your resources to take them on, and then you get 1 experience point from them. Instead, just walk up the middle path, run away from any encounters, and then you can meet this boss. If you go into the fight with full health, since you can't heal during it, you have a pretty good chance of taking it out. If you do die though, you just wind up back at Kitaro's house with no penalty. Well, no penalty other than having to play Gegege no Kitaro 2 some more. I think at this point it's pretty clear that this is a pretty bad game. Of the roughly 15 RPGs we've seen on the system so far, I'd put it third from the bottom. That's pretty low, but this is also one of the first cheap cash-in RPGs we've seen. And there's going to be a lot of those as we go through the Famicom's library. That said, slightly better than its terrible reputation is not a ringing endorsement of Gegege no Kitaro 2.